With 4 million sounds, what will you create? Take the free trial today.
Hey, Christian, there in Italy with Lab4Music Sipario. We maybe saw you at NAMM a few months ago, but you've had some more developments. The Sipario is, for those who didn't see it, it's a really brilliant little MIDI router, standalone MIDI router with host mode and MIDI ports. So what have you been working on?
Yes, I'm developing and the new firmware of the new version of Sipario that the name is Sipario Expanded, and I'm working. It's a better version at the moment, of course, but it's pretty completed.
So, what's the difference?
Basically, we are a different hardware because we have more MIDI input and output on classic DIN port. We have a pitch wheel on board, and there's an USB host that now support hub. So you can connect more than one device, USB MIDI compliant device to Sipario, and route or the MIDI flow from MIDI port to USB devices, and vice versa.
Okay.
Of course.
I mean, I reviewed the Sipario, which I thought was very useful. For instance, I mean, you might have just one keyboard and you could, set up a zone to be sending to one MIDI port, another zone to be sending to another. There's all sorts of clever stuff that you could do with it, right?
Yeah, right. So you can virtually connect one input to one output, and you can choose the channel out. You can filter out the channel input, and you can send program change with bank information. You can send SysEx strings, and remap control change, send control change.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I used it for was really useful. I used it as the center of my hub, of my live set. So it meant that I had a keyboard that would be playing one module for one song and then playing another module for another song, sending program changes to my mixer, to everything. So everything would just happen in one go. So let's have a look at the hardware. I mean, it's bigger physically, isn't it? Obviously.
So here we have the MIDI output. We have 4 MIDI DIN classic port, and 6 MIDI connection on MIDI jack, mini jack. This is done to save space on the chassis, and there's a USB host, a input pedal to switch from different performance by pushing the pedal, and the power. 5 volt USB power. And here we have a pitch wheel to control lead solo part. For instance, while you're playing a digital piano, you can act on the pitch and control the parts. Then we have a display, touch display, and we have a list of scenes. The scenes are the songs of our playlist, so we can rename each scene, and for each scene we have a performance, not just one, of course, but up to 28 performance. A performance is a configuration of our setup. So for each performance, we can decide split layers, and we can connect input, MIDI input to MIDI output. How can you do? You can program by using the interface. You don't need a computer to program all. So inside the performance, you have maps that are layers. And for each layer, you can define the input, the output, the channel in, channel output. You can transpose your sound, and you can define the key range. a key range is where the keyboard acts. So if you set different key range for different map, you can create a split point, of course. Then on the other page, you can define the dynamics of the sound, so you can trigger the map according to the velocity with which you play your keyboard.
Can I ask a question? How many splits can you have? What's the maximum number of keyboard zones that you could have?
So you have up to 16 maps. For each map, you can define a key range. So you can have in one keyboard, if you use all the maps, you can have 16 split point. It's crazy, of course, but of course you can set 4 split point for a keyboard, 3 for another. There's a keyboard range for one map.
And it makes sense. I mean, because for live performers who maybe just want to use one big keyboard, it's actually a bit of a godsend. So have you got some routing set up in there that you can demonstrate how they change when you change scenes?
Yeah. In this example, I have my scene 1. Inside the scene, have 2 performances. One is called intro. With this performance, we can play piano. Sorry, I have connected 2 devices via USB, and one device is a Yamaha CP reface. The other device is Akai. Is an Akai controller. On MIDI output, I have connected the Roland Boutique JX3. So in this case, I can play the Sipario face, and then with the Akai controller, I can play the JX sounds. By acting on this control, I can modulate the filter cutoff because Sipario can remap the control change that come in. So this control send a modulation. Have remapped to control change 74 to open and close the filter of the Roland sound. And to demonstrate the pitch, I can control the pitch by acting on the pitch wheel. Then, if I move on the other performance, I can change all, remap all. For instance, I have defined a split point with a clap sound here, and on the upper part, a sound that comes from the Roland. And how you can see, when I switch to my performance, I can send program change a system exclusive to have the sound ready. So if I touch intro, I send a system exclusive to Yamaha CP to point to Rode sound, and a program change to Roland to set the different sound. Then I move and have other sound from Roland and another sound to Yamaha CP. Of course, this is a little example.
Sure.
It's a little setup. Of course,
it's very basic in many ways, but the complexity is really interesting. So the host mode, Can you address individual ports on something? Because I know I've emailed you recently because I was using my Sipario to get the Korg NTS1 to just work straight off. But because they have the MIDI keyboard input on their internal software port 2, it didn't see it. Is there? Will it be possible to address those in future firmware, or does it do it now?
At the moment, the beta release doesn't have this function, but of course it could be added in the final release, because it's an interesting skill, of course, because some of the devices has more than one MIDI compliant USB port, and it could be useful to select the right port, of course.
Also, is it possible to learn? I mean, when will it? So, if you wanted to learn system exclusive, can you send it the string and it would learn, or do you have to type it in somehow? And that would be helpful, I suppose.
At the moment, you have to write the string, the system exclusive string. I have added a list of preset of common keyboards like Korg series, for example, to move from program or to combing or sequencer. You can do in Chrome system by sending program change. You have to send system exclusive. I have added a preset, a system preset, so you can select this preset for different brands, and so it could be easier to
I understand.
But yes, of course, I can think of a kind of SysEx learning.
And did I see at NAMM that you were part of the MIDI 2.0 movement? I mean, is it going to be MIDI 2.0 compliant ultimately? Is that the idea?
At the moment, this feature is not implemented, but of course, it depends how this MIDI protocol will evolve. No? But of course, if it will be a reality and a lot of hardware and devices will use this protocol, of course, Sipario Expanded will be compliant with this MIDI 2.0 protocol. The interesting things could be to catch, to grab the list of sound with program change and bank information, etc. So you haven't to scroll. You could with program change to select your right sound, but
you can just see the name.
See the right list that you can download from.
So when is this going to be available? What's your plan for the release time, and do you have a price?
It will be ready, I think, in summer. The price will be close to $4.99, but maybe less.
Okay. But I mean, we should point out it's standalone. It doesn't need a computer. It's a very intelligent MIDI router. So how many MIDI ports does it have in and out? Just what's the maximum count of actual physical MIDI ports?
The physical MIDI port are 5 in and 5 out.
Right.
Plus USB devices, of course, by using an hub. This is the onboard port, of course. Then you can chain, of course, your MIDI devices with MIDI through and use more than 8 or 9 devices that you can connect at the moment.
Great. Thank you very much, Christian. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
You're welcome. Thank you.